Hi, everyone. Welcome again to Ivy English. I'm Bruce.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today is day 2. Yesterday, July 24th, we started to talk about the bow and arrow's important place in human history. Today, of course, if it's day 2, we're going to continue. Today, mostly we talk about different types, another different type of the bow, and some ideas about Japanese culture as well. So sit down, take a deep breath, and listen carefully as I read through the whole article for today's lesson.
No longer considered a weapon of war, these days the bow and arrow is primarily used for sport. In nations around the globe, archery is both a hobby and competitive event, including an Olympic one. While archery is popular in many places, it takes on a special significance in Japan, where it is known as kyodo, which translates to the way of the bow. There, it is considered an ancient martial art and has a spiritual meaning. There are numerous differences between kyodo and the archery practiced in Western countries. For one, the bow, set at a length of 2.2 meters, is much larger than those used in other places. Moreover, it is not symmetrical. That is, it is much longer at the top than it is at the bottom. Also, kyodo requires participants to draw the string of the bow back to the ear, further than in other forms of archery. Additionally, in kyodo, archers place the arrow on the right side of the bow rather than on the left side. The biggest contrast between kyodo and Western archery, however, lies not in the design of the bow or the placement of the arrow. Instead, it is the philosophy and spirituality found in the Japanese martial art, or the spirit of kyodo. Kyodo involves ceremonial elements such as slow, graceful movements and the lifting of the bow above the head prior to shooting the arrow at a target. The acts are signs of self-discipline and emotional stability kyodo encourages. Though it is not a religion, kyodo is seen as much more of an art than a sport in Japan.
So, bows are no longer considered a weapon of war because they've been replaced by guns. So, these days, currently, the bow and arrow is primarily used for sport. Now, we mentioned yesterday, but I'm going to mention again, a bow and an arrow, even though these are two objects, they're seen as one thing. If you have a bow with no arrows, it's useless, and vice versa. You could probably stab somebody with an arrow, but it's not going to be the same as if you have a bow. So the
Women are so violent.
Yes.
Anyways, so the bow and arrow are an object together. So we say the bow and arrow is primarily used for sport. Sometimes it's used for stabbing Bruce when he says unreasonable things.
Okay, 好，那这 Yeah.
She's going to hunt me on my way out of here
I'm
today.
not going to hunt anyone because I'm a nonviolent person.
好，那我们看到这个句子呢，他说 no longer 哈，再也不是 considered， 再也不被认为是一个 a weapon of war。好，那这个可以这种分词构句的变形啊，所以这个其实它就是这个 no longer being considered 啊，但是 being 把它省略掉了啊，所以它不再被视为一种战争的武器 ，a weapon of war 啊，所以 these days 这年头呢不过 these days 在这里不是句子的主词哦，这个 these days 在这里指的还是副词，那句子的主词是 the bow and arrow 啊，所以呢这个句子文法完全没有问题。好 ，the bow and arrow 是后面的这一个句子主要子句的主词，那前面这个分词构句呢是 the bow and arrow 啊 being considered 或者 no longer being considered a weapon of war 啊，所以前后主词是一样的。好，那这个所以现在呢，这个弓跟箭呢 is primarily 主要是用来 used for sport， 主要是一种运动。
In nations around the globe, archery is both a hobby and competitive event, including an Olympic one. Well, a third one would be hunting that we mentioned. If we're no longer talking about war, although hunting is a hobby for some people, others who live in distant areas depend on hunting in order to get enough food, especially protein, to eat.
Especially indigenous cultures.
Mm-hmm. Well, for us here in Urbania, those of us who live in big cities around the world, you do see bows and arrows, but normally only as a hobby or a sport. It's a competitive event. How many bull's eyes can you fire into the center of a target? Well, of course, you're firing arrows, and your arrow is supposed to hit the center of the target. It's a black circle.
Or sometimes red.
And that means that's excellent aim, A-I-M.
好，这个 bull's eyes 就是那个 target 哈，所以这个现在你如果说射箭当运动的话，就是你要把那个箭射到那个圆心里面去啊，或者射到该射的地方。好，所以他说在这个in nations around the globe， 在全球全世界各个国家的意思啊。那 archery 就是射箭或者箭术啊，这个是 both 射箭，它既是个 hobby 一个业余的爱好，也是个 competitive event 一个竞赛的项目，叫做 competitive event。好 ，including 其中还包括了一个奥林匹克运动会也有射箭这个项目啊，叫做这个including Olympic one， 这个 one 就是指一个 event。
While archery is popular in many places, it takes on a special significance in Japan, where it is known as kyudo, which translates to the way of the bow. So, of course, Japan has found a way, as it does with so many things, to make something that other people think is ordinary, they turn it into a super special art, which is one of the cool things that we all love about Japan.
Very creative people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And spiritual and artistic.
Yeah. 啊，所以很多事情我们平常一般人觉得很简单的事情，在日本文化里面都可以把它变成一个道啊。
Drinking tea.
Yeah， 茶道啊，或者花道。对不对
Putting flowers in vases.
Yeah.
Other people, you just stick a flower in a vase. Japanese, they turn it into an art, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah， 所以那个道呢，有那个精神的元素在里面，有艺术的成分在里面啊。那我们来看这个句子，他说这个 while 也是一样，它是虽然的意思啊，但是语气很弱的一个虽然。虽然说这个 archery 呢，在很多地方都是 popular 啊，都非常的受欢迎，就很多人都喜欢这个射箭啊。It takes on a special significance 啊 ，takes on 在这里可以说是 acquire 或者 assume， 它具有了一个独特的、特别的 special、特别的 significance， 就是一个意义啊，或者是重要性，都可以解释啊。它可以是 importance， 也可以是 meaning。所以在日本呢，这个射箭它有这个意义特别的不同，它的重要性特别的不同。好 ，where 就是指在 Japan，it is known as 它被这个称为kyudo。那 which 就是指这个kyudo 这个字呢 translates to 就是可以翻译成为 the way of the bow 就是弓道弓箭之道叫弓道。
There, of course, that means in Japan. It, of course, is kyudo. It is thought of as an ancient martial art. A martial art is a fighting art. The art of war, the art of self-protection, the art of strategy and attacking, and so on. And the bow has a spiritual meaning, which we will be discussing momentarily.
好 momentarily 就是马上的意思啊。那 there 就是 in Japan， 在日本呢 it is considered 被认为啊，也就是弓道被认为是个 ancient 很古老的 martial art， 就是武术啊，被认为是古老的武术。而且呢 has a spiritual meaning， 有一个精神的心灵上的一个含义。
There are numerous differences between kyudo and the archery practiced in Western countries. Why is there a the in front of archery? Isn't archery kind of non-count? Well, we're not talking about archery itself. We're talking about the specific set of archery practiced in Western countries, not all archery all over the world. So the is there to point out a specific group. And this is why we use the in front of a phrase sometimes. So we're talking about kyudo, the archery practiced in Japan, and the archery practiced in Western countries. So I just use that kind of group pointing out the twice.
好，所以呢，这个地方刚刚 Angela 解释就是这个 archery 这个字前面为什么我们要加一个冠词定冠词 the 呢？啊，因为其实很简单的，就是这个 archery 它后面有一个修饰词practiced in Western countries， 所以特别指 在西方国家所实行的或者所做的这种 archery， 所以它是特指某一种 archery， 因为它后面有一个修饰的名词，一个修饰的词组，所以这地方我们要加个 the archery 啊，就是在西方国家所实行的或所练习的这种弓箭之道啊。好，所以这里要加个 the。那这个句子呢，它的意思啊 ，there are numerous 有 many differences 有很多很多的差别啊，在日本的弓道，还有呢在西方国家的这种剑道啊，就是这个弓箭的剑道之间呢，有很多很多不同的差别。
For one, the bow, set at a length of 2.2 meters, is much larger than those used in other places. 2.2 meters would be something like 6'6" or 7 or something like that. Think basketball player, professional basketball player.
Yeah.
That is the length of the bow, and most bows that we see outside of Japan are not nearly so large.
好，所以 for one 啊，就是 for one difference 的意思啊。那当然 for one 也是常用来表示说其中之一的意思啊，不一定后面通常都不会再加名词的。所以其中之一啊，在这里就是指其中之一的差别呢，就是日本的弓道用的弓啊 set 啊，这个 set 就是固定啊，就是这个designated 啊，大家指定好了啊，是在多长呢？是 2.2 公尺啊 set at a length of 2.2 meters。 那个 at 因为数字 2.2 是个数字，它是一个点，所以用 at， 所以它的弓长是 2.2 公尺。那 2.2 公尺呢，其实是很多这个NBA 职业球员的他们的身高啊，能够长到 2.2 的其实也没有那么多啊。那所以呢，这个弓非常的长，所以它 is much larger 大很多。跟什么比呢？跟those used in other places 啊，这个 those 就是 other bows 啊，其他的这个弓啊，那用在其他的地方的那些弓，所以日本的弓道的弓 2.2 公尺，比其他地方用的弓还要长非常多。
Moreover, even more interestingly, it is not symmetrical. That is, it is much longer at the top than it is at the bottom. Most bows are symmetrical, so it's very interesting that this one isn't. Now, you could say it's much longer at the top than at the bottom, and that would be totally correct. But the way that it's written here, it is much longer at the top than it is at the bottom, kind of really draws out the sentence and makes you pay attention to the fact that the top is longer than the bottom.
好，所以这个地方呢，它此外呢，弓不只是长，而且呢 ，it is not symmetrical 啊 ，symmetrical 就是对称，所以 not symmetrical 就这个弓它并没有对称。好 ，that is 好，他解释一下。那很多人看到的它不是对称，什么意思呢？所以他赶快解释一下。That is, it is much longer at the top. 这弓的上半部呢长很多。Then 比什么长很多呢？比 it is at the bottom， 比它下半部还要长很多。所以它的弓的上半截比下半截还要长。那这个 it is 其实你也可以把它拿掉，你可以说 it is much longer at the top than at the bottom 啊。但这样写的话，给人感觉就是没有强调，就是感觉起来它 OK， 它上面比较长，下面比较短，就这样子而已啊。但是你加了一个 it is 的话呢，就会让读者注意到说所以真的它底下的长度跟上面的长度比起来是不一样的哦。所以这个 it is 加与不加都对，但加了的话呢，它会产生某一种的强调啊，让读者更清楚的知道说它底下其实也不短啊，但是上面更长很多。
Okay, we've looked at some differences now between Kyudo and other, not necessarily Western only, but other bows and arrows. We found that it's larger. The Kyudo bow is larger. It's not symmetrical. And in this sentence, we find out another difference. Also, Kyudo requires participants to draw the string of the bow back to the ear further than in other forms of archery. Draw means to pull, and the string is the part of the bow that has a string on it, and you pull that back to create tension, and then when you release the tension, it carries the arrow forward to your target.
好，那除了这个长度不对称之外呢？Also 这个弓道 requires 它要求 participants 就是参加的人，也就是射箭的人，要 draw 要拉draw 就是拉， the string of the bow 要拉这个弓弦啊，要拉到哪里呢？要一路要拉到 back to the ear 要拉到耳朵这个地方啊。那 further than 这个是更远的啊，比什么更远呢？比 in other forms of archery 啊，比其他形式的这个射箭还要更远。
Additionally, don't you love this paragraph? It's like there are numerous differences. For one, moreover, also, additionally. You know what? If you were saying this, you could be like for one, for two, for three, and for four, which would be awesome. But in writing, it doesn't look as good. So this is a good example of how to add information on each one, especially if you want to add like, and there's this, and there's this, and besides, there's this other thing. How cool is that? So it's really kind of emphasizing that we're adding a new fact each sentence. So additionally, in Kyudo, archers place the arrow on the right side of the bow rather than on the left side. This is before you're firing it. And this is a question I've always had. I'm not an archer. I just love watching people shoot arrows. And I've never known which side of the bow the arrow goes on when I actually try to shoot an arrow too. So I've always put it on the right side because it seems to make sense. But apparently I've been doing it wrong for Western archery. But I've been doing it right for Kyudo.
Yeah. 好，所以这个首先我们可以注意到，刚刚 Angie 老师提醒我们啊，就这一个段落很有趣，它的资讯呢，它会一直添加资讯。那各位可以注意到它怎么个添加法？它第一个资讯它是用 for one， 好，那第二个资讯它用 moreover， 第三个资讯它用 also， 然后呢到第四个资讯这里它就用 additionally， 啊，所以这四个各位可以把它记起来，而且顺序你可以这样。你顺便把这个顺序学起来啊。那有的时候 moreover 跟 also 可以对调了啊，但是你也可以学到像这里的这个顺序啊。所以 additionally 就除了以上讲的这些之外，还有什么呢？他说在弓道里面呢 ，archers 这些箭手啊 ，place the arrow 啊 ，the arrow 就把这个箭放在哪里呢？放在 the right side of the bow， 放在这弓的右边啊，而不是放在弓的左边啊。那其实很多人如果说啊，像你如果去玩射箭的话，或者有的游乐园有那种射箭的话，你可能会想说，这个箭到底在弓的左边还是右边呢？那你现在知道了，大部分都是放在那个弓的左边啊。那日本的弓道是放在那个弓的右边。
Okay, our final paragraph. The biggest contrast between Kyudo and Western archery, however, lies not in the design of the bow or the placement of the arrows. So we have been talking about what the bow looks like and where to place the arrow, but that's not the biggest contrast. That's not the most significant difference between the Japanese bow, Kyudo, and Western archery, the Western bow and the Western arrow.
好，所以他说 the biggest contrast 最大的差别啊 ，contrast 本来是对比啦啊，在这里其实就是差别的意思，就是日本的弓道跟西方的射箭啊，最大的差别在哪里呢？啊，它这个差别并不是 lies not， 就并不在于 lies in 就是在于什么，但是你说 lies not in 就强调不在于啊，他们最大的差别不在于 the design of the bow 啊，不在于这个弓的设计啊，不是说日本的弓比较长而且不对称啊，不是这样子，也不是在 the placement of arrow， 也不是在这个箭往哪里放啊，那显然就是告诉你，这最大的差别不在于这里，还有什么呢？最大的差别在哪里呢？他会告诉你。
Instead, it is the philosophy and spirituality found in the Japanese martial art, or the spirit of Kyudo. Why do we start our sentence with instead? Because the previous sentence said the contrast lies not in something. So it's not about A, and then the sentence ended. So definitely our next sentence has to say what it is about. So instead, it is about B. It is about the philosophy and spirituality found in the Japanese martial art, or the spirit of Kyudo.
好，那这个 instead 是因为前一句说啊，这个差别 lies not in 什么什么什么啊，所以他接下来讲 instead 而是啊，而是在哪里呢？差别在哪里？在于 the philosophy 哲学，还有 spirituality 精神啊 ，found 你可以发现啊，在哪里呢？在日本的这个 martial art 日本的武术里面啊，所以他们的差别是日本武术里面所能够看到的这个哲学跟精神上这样的差异啊，所以所谓的这个 philosophy and spirituality found in the Japanese martial art， 它指的就是 the spirit of Kyudo 啊。那这个地方 the Japanese martial art 指的其实也就是日本的这个弓道啊，所以不是说泛指日本的武术，而是日本的弓道。
Kyudo involves ceremonial elements such as slow, graceful movements, and the lifting of the bow above the head prior to shooting the arrow at a target. This reminds me, I don't know why, of tea ceremonies. Everything has to be done step by step. There's no alternate. There's only one way to do it correctly. And even in the use of the bow and the arrow in Japan, there are ceremonial elements. I also think of sumo.
相扑
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stamping with the right and then the left and throwing salt over the back and so on.
Yeah.
Japan is full of this, and I rather like it. I wouldn't be able to do it. Well, maybe sumo.
那这个地方的这个其实他这里讲到说，这个弓道呢involves ceremonial elements， 就是一些仪式的元素啊。那例如说 such as slow 很缓慢的graceful 就是很优雅的graceful 就是 having or showing grace or elegance 很优雅elegance E-L-E-G-A-N-C-E elegance 常常跟 graceful 一起出现所以他强调的是怎么样一些仪式化的元素，例如说你动作要慢要优雅那这个刚刚 Bruce 老师讲到，其实日本我们讲茶道甚至于日本的相扑，都让我们想到它有很多的 ceremonial elements 它都是慢慢的有 graceful 所以相扑虽然说这个扑上去的那一刹那非常的 violent 但在它之前有很多的这个仪式这个包括相扑水手他可能要撒盐要擦用拿毛巾等等的那茶道更是一样所以这日本的这种很多的所谓的道里面都有很多的 ceremonial elements。好，那这个句子还没讲完，他说这个弓道呢，你动作要慢，要优雅，而且呢，你要 lifting of the bow 你要把这个弓呢举到什么程度呢 ？above the head 要举高过你的头prior to shooting 在你射箭之前在你把这个箭射向这个目标之前shooting the arrow at a target 你射向目标之前也就是你拉弓的时候，各位其实可以去网络上一定找得到这种影片那个姿势很漂亮他拉弓的时候呢，那个把那个弓拉得过头，然后再这两只手往左右张开，然后再射那个箭非常漂亮的姿势。
The acts are signs of the self-discipline and emotional stability Kyoto encourages. So you have to be disciplined, you have to be emotionally stable to do such slow, graceful, and artistic movements.
Yeah, 这个就是重点。他说 the acts 就是这些动作呢 are signs of 是一些这个迹象或者一个表示怎么样 the self-discipline 自律自我规律那个自律，还有呢 emotional stability就是心绪的平和，那这些东西都是什么呀？都是 that Kyudo encourages， 都是日本的弓道所强调、所鼓励的，就是你射箭的人要有自律，要心绪非常平和，你才能做出那些很 slow, graceful 的动作。
Though it is not a religion, Kyudo is seen as much more of an art than a sport in Japan. So there are many differences between Western archery and other nations' archeries compared to that of Japan's. This Kyudo, it seems many things that the Japanese do are very artistic rather than just the power, in this case, the power of warfare or the power of sport.
好，所以虽然不是一个宗教，但是呢，弓道被视为is seen as 被视为much more of an art than a sport 它更多是被视为是一种艺术，而不是一个 sport 这个你说 more of A than B 就是比较是 A 而比较不是 B， 那 much more of A than B 就是它更加的是 A 而不是 B 所以在日本弓道更加的被视为是个艺术而不是一个运动。
Okay, so now we have some questions for you. Number 1 is, where would this passage most likely appear? Where would you see a piece of writing like this, besides in our esteemed magazine?
好，所以这篇文章最可能出现在哪里呢？
The answer is A, in a history book.
在一本历史课本里面。
Number 2, according to the passage, which of the following statements is true?
根据本篇短文，以下哪一项叙述是正确的？
The true statement is D. The bow and arrow was used for hunting before it was used in war, because war is a recent invention in the history of the human race.
答案是 D。 这个在使用于战争之前呢，弓箭是被用于狩猎。
Number 3, what does the author suggest is the biggest difference between Kyudo and Western archery?
本篇作者认为弓道跟西式射箭最大的差别在哪里呢？
The answer is A. Kyudo has a deliberate spiritual element that Western archery does not.
答案是 A。 弓道具有西式射箭所没有的一个精神元素。
And number 4, what does the last sentence of the passage imply?
好，本篇短文最后一句意味着什么呢？
It implies that in Japan, Kyudo is considered an art form, and that would be C.
好，正确答案是 C。 在日本呢，弓道被视为一种艺术形式。
Well, that wasn't too bad. I got 2 of them right. Until the